Before you accuse her, listen closely. The quiet shift you feel is not imagination, it is information. And tonight, I need you calm, open, and honest with yourself. If this kind of psychological truth helps you grow, subscribe now and like this video, because what you are about to hear changes how you see connection forever. I'm speaking to you as a psychologist, not to scare you, but to help you notice patterns men are taught to ignore. When a woman is emotionally drifting towards someone else, the first change is not physical, it is selective honesty. She becomes vague where she used to be clear, not lying outright, but trimming details, editing stories, protecting emotional privacy she once shared freely. This is not villainy, it is internal conflict. The second behavior is sudden self-improvement without shared enthusiasm. New routines, new clothes, new confidence, yet strangely detached from you. Growth is healthy, but secrecy around motivation is the signal. She is feeding a version of herself that no longer invites you in. Third, watch how reassurance disappears. Compliments become functional, conversations efficient, affection scheduled. She still shows up, but warmth is rationed. Emotional energy is finite, and when it's being invested elsewhere, you feel the withdrawal before you understand it. Fourth is irritation over small things. This is guilt disguised as annoyance. When the mind is divided, patience collapses. You become a mirror she avoids because you remind her of values she's negotiating with. Fifth, she rewrites the relationship narrative. Jokes about independence, comments about needing space, subtle critiques of the past. This is psychological preparation, not cruelty. The mind seeks permission before behavior. Sixth, digital guarding increases, not hiding devices dramatically, just increased alertness, faster responses elsewhere, slower ones with you. Attention is the currency of attachment. Seventh, future talk fades, plans stay short-term. Long-range visions feel heavy. Commitment language triggers discomfort because it collides with emotional uncertainty. If you recognize these behaviors, the answer is not control or confrontation. It is presence, clarity, and self-respect. Awareness is power. Calm observation protects your dignity, and dignity is always attractive. Stay grounded, choose integrity, and remember that your worth is not measured by another person's confusion. Lead with strength, listen without fear, and be prepared to walk if respect dissolves. That readiness alone often restores balance, whether together or apart, with calm clarity, honesty, patience, wisdom, resilience. What most men misunderstand is that emotional betrayal begins long before physical lines are crossed. It starts as permission inside her own mind, and the next behaviors live in that invisible space. Stay present, because this is where men either panic or evolve. The eighth behavior is emotional outsourcing. She stops bringing you her fears, frustrations, and small daily thoughts. Instead, those conversations are happening somewhere else. When a woman is about to cross a line, she doesn't remove you physically first. She removes you emotionally. Intimacy is replaced with neutrality. You're no longer the first person she wants to tell things to. That silence is not peace, it's distance. The ninth behavior is comparison without names. She speaks about some people who understand her better, others who listen differently, men who are more emotionally available. She's not praising someone specific out loud, but your nervous system feels the subtraction. This is cognitive justification. The mind elevates alternatives to reduce guilt. The 10th behavior is a subtle shift in empathy. She becomes less curious about your inner world. When you're tired, stressed, or struggling, the response feels shallow, not cold, just incomplete. Emotional focus has shifted. Empathy follows attachment, always. Now let me tell you something most men never hear. None of this means you are weak. It means you are perceptive. Men are conditioned to ignore intuition and wait for proof. But psychology does not move in court evidence. It moves in patterns. Another sign that often gets overlooked is moral flexibility. She begins defending questionable behavior in others. Cheating stories sound more complex. Boundaries feel negotiable. This is the mind rehearsing forgiveness before it needs it. Then there is sudden emotional calm after tension. Arguments disappear too easily. Disagreements dissolve without resolution. This is not harmony, it's disengagement. When someone no longer needs emotional closeness, conflict loses importance. And finally, watch for disproportionate defensiveness. Not anger, but over-explanation. Too many words for simple questions. This is anxiety, not confidence. Here's the mentor truth. When these signs appear together, your job is not to interrogate, it is to stabilize yourself. Men who chase clarity from unstable ground lose respect. Men who regain self-respect change the entire dynamic. Silence can be strength. Boundaries create safety. Calm confidence forces truth to surface naturally. Whether the relationship survives or not, how you respond defines your future. You don't win by holding tighter. You win by standing taller, grounded, aware, and unafraid of outcomes. There is a deeper layer most men never reach because it requires emotional discipline, not emotional reaction. This is where behavior becomes subtle enough to confuse you, yet loud enough to disturb your peace. Pay attention to that disturbance. It is data. Another behavior is identity distancing. She stops saying we and starts saying I more often, even in situations where teamwork once mattered. Language reveals allegiance. This shift is her psyche reclaiming independence before her actions do. It's not accidental, it's rehearsal. Then comes validation hunger. She seeks affirmation in indirect ways, posting differently, laughing a little louder in public, telling stories where she is the admired center. This isn't vanity, it's reassurance seeking. When emotional security weakens at home, the nervous system searches elsewhere. You may also notice inconsistency in availability, not dramatic absence, but unpredictable presence. She's reachable sometimes, distant others, without clear explanation. This push-pull pattern is internal conflict leaking outward. She's torn between loyalty and curiosity. Another sign is selective memory. Past sacrifices you made fade. Old mistakes resurface. The narrative becomes skewed. This is not gaslighting you intentionally. It's cognitive balancing. The mind minimizes guilt by amplifying justification. Watch how touch changes, not disappearing, but becoming brief, functional, or situational. Affection loses spontaneity. Touch without presence feels hollow, and your body notices even if your mind resists. There is also a quiet testing phase. She introduces mild boundary crossings to see what happens. Longer conversations with others, sharper independence, slight secrecy. If there is no resistance, the psyche feels safer escalating. Now listen carefully. Men often respond here by overgiving. More attention, more gifts, more effort. This feels logical, but psychologically, it signals fear. Fear erodes polarity. Stability restores it. What actually interrupts this pattern is grounded self-containment. You don't withdraw to punish. You withdraw to realign. You focus on your body, your mission, your emotional regulation. This creates contrast. Contrast awakens awareness. And here is the hard truth. Sometimes these signs are not about cheating at all. Sometimes they are about her losing attraction because she no longer feels emotional tension, safety, or growth. The behavior looks the same. The response must still be the same. You do not beg for clarity, you embody it. You don't chase reassurance. You become secure. You don't interrogate behavior. You observe patterns. Whether she returns emotionally or continues drifting, your power comes from how you hold yourself. Calm, observant, self-respecting. That energy either recenters the bond or prepares you to walk away without bitterness. Both outcomes are victories when handled with strength. Here is where most men miss the turning point because it does not announce itself loudly. It arrives as a subtle emotional loneliness while she is still physically present. That contradiction is the warning. One behavior that appears here is emotional minimization. When you express concern, she reassures without resolving. Her words soothe but do not connect. Your overthinking replaces curiosity. This isn't cruelty, it's avoidance. Facing your intuition would require her to face her own conflict. Another sign is narrative control. She begins shaping how conversations end, steering away from depth, keeping things light when weight would reveal too much. Emotional depth feels dangerous when someone is emotionally divided. Watch how gratitude changes. Appreciation becomes generic. Specific praise disappears. When someone is bonded, they notice details. When they are drifting, details blur. There is also an increase in private joy you're not part of. Moments of happiness that don't invite explanation. Not secrecy, just separation. The smile you didn't earn feels confusing because it is. Then there is a shift in conflict style. She becomes less reactive, not more. Calm detachment replaces passion. Anger requires investment. Indifference signals withdrawal. Another overlooked behavior is projection. She questions your loyalty, your honesty, your intentions. This is not accusation, it's displacement. The mind externalizes internal tension to relieve pressure. You might also sense a change in physical rhythm. Sleep schedules shift. Energy peaks at odd times. Habits reorganize. These are not signs by themselves, but in clusters they matter. Now understand this. You cannot outmaneuver emotional drift with logic. You cannot argue someone back into presence. The nervous system responds to safety and polarity, not explanations. What restores balance is emotional leadership. That means regulating yourself first. No interrogations, no emotional flooding. You stay composed, warm, but grounded. You create space without withdrawal, presence without pressure. This posture does two things. It allows her to feel the contrast between emotional connection and emotional absence, and it protects you from losing yourself trying to save something alone. If she re-engages, it will be because she feels clarity again. If she doesn't, you will already be standing in your own strength. The lesson here is not about preventing betrayal. It is about refusing to betray yourself. When a man stays rooted in dignity, awareness, and calm confidence, he cannot be blindsided. He may be disappointed, but never destroyed. That is psychological resilience, and it is what ultimately defines your attractiveness, your peace, and your future. At this stage, the emotional atmosphere feels thin, like oxygen slowly leaving the room. Nothing has exploded, yet something vital is missing. Men often doubt themselves here, and that doubt is more damaging than the situation itself. One of the strongest signals now is emotional compartmentalization. She is present in certain roles and absent in others. Practical matters are handled smoothly, but emotional conversations feel blocked. This split allows her to function without confronting the deeper truth she's avoiding. You may notice a change in how she listens. She hears your words, but she doesn't absorb them. Responses come quickly, but without depth. This is cognitive listening, not emotional listening. Her mind is elsewhere, even if her body is not. Another behavior is selective vulnerability. She may still open up, but only about safe topics. Surface stress, external annoyances, neutral stories. The deeper fears, desires, and longings are no longer shared with you. Intimacy narrows before it breaks. There is also a shift in respect expression. Not overt disrespect, but reduced consideration. Plans change last minute. Your time feels less protected. This is not malicious. It reflects shifting priority structures. You might sense a subtle loss of curiosity about you as a man. Your growth, your goals, your inner world no longer spark the same interest. Attraction feeds on curiosity. When curiosity fades, something else has captured her attention. Here's where men often make the critical mistake. They attempt emotional rescue, long talks, emotional appeals, over-explaining feelings. This floods the dynamic with pressure and collapses polarity. It feels honest, but it weakens your position. Psychologically, what resets respect is not explanation, but embodiment. You slow down. You speak less, but with clarity. You invest more in your own life, not to provoke jealousy, but to restore internal alignment. This creates emotional contrast. Contrast reminds the nervous system what presence feels like. It also exposes avoidance without confrontation. If she is capable of returning emotionally, she will feel the absence of pressure and the return of grounded energy. If she is not, the truth will surface without you forcing it. Either way, you regain something essential: yourself. This phase is not about saving the relationship at any cost. It is about refusing to shrink to maintain proximity. Men who hold their center through uncertainty become emotionally unshakable. And here is the quiet power. When you stop chasing reassurance and start living with integrity, you no longer fear outcomes. You become someone who can love deeply without losing himself. That is not just relationship strength. That is psychological maturity, and it changes every connection you will ever have. Now we arrive at the moment where truth wants to surface, but only if you stop chasing it. This is where emotional pressure either collapses the bond or reveals what has been hiding underneath all along. One behavior that appears here is emotional distancing masked as kindness. She is polite, considerate, even supportive, but something essential is missing. The warmth that once felt natural now feels managed. Kindness without intimacy is a form of separation. You may notice she avoids eye contact during deeper moments. Not always, not obviously, just enough that your body notices before your mind does. Eye contact creates accountability. Avoiding it protects internal conflict. Another sign is the disappearance of emotional repair. Small ruptures go unrepaired. Where she once sought reconnection after tension, she now lets distance linger. This tells you emotional investment has dropped below a critical threshold. There is also a shift in how she experiences joy with you. Laughter feels lighter, shorter, less embodied. Shared happiness becomes polite enjoyment rather than mutual excitement. Joy requires presence. Without presence, it thins. Watch for delayed emotional responses. You share something meaningful, and the reaction comes later, muted or indirectly. This is emotional lag. Her nervous system is no longer fully synchronized with yours. At this stage, many men attempt to reclaim closeness through reassurance seeking, asking where they stand, asking for clarity, asking for promises. This is understandable, but psychologically ineffective. Certainty cannot be pulled from someone who is uncertain themselves. What creates movement now is stillness. You stop filling silence. You stop overperforming connection. You allow space without coldness. This is not manipulation. It is emotional self-respect. When you hold this posture, two things happen. Either she feels the weight of the distance she has created and chooses to step back in consciously, or the truth becomes undeniable without confrontation. And here is the mentor truth few men hear. Closure does not come from answers. It comes from alignment. When your behavior matches your values, you feel complete regardless of her choices. This is where you reclaim authority over your emotional life. You stop monitoring her moods and start honoring your boundaries. You don't punish. You don't plead. You simply stand grounded. Men who master this stage do not fear betrayal because their identity is not built on being chosen. It is built on choosing themselves. And paradoxically, this self-anchored presence is the only energy that can restore genuine attraction if it is still possible. Not force, not fear, just calm, embodied clarity. This is the final truth, and it's the one most men only understand after pain forces clarity. Emotional betrayal is not the deepest wound. Self-abandonment is. And this moment is where the story truly belongs to you. By now, you don't need more signs. You feel the pattern in your body, the tightness, the quiet knowing, the shift you couldn't name before, but now recognize clearly. This awareness is not meant to make you anxious. It is meant to make you sovereign. When a woman is on the edge of crossing a line, the relationship is already asking a question, not about her loyalty, but about your self-respect. Will you ignore reality to preserve comfort? Or will you honor truth even when it's uncomfortable? Here is what psychologically strong men do differently. They stop trying to manage another person's emotions. They stop negotiating attraction. They stop proving worth. Instead, they become still, clear, and internally aligned. You no longer seek reassurance. You observe consistency. You no longer fear loss. You fear self-betrayal more. You speak when something matters, calmly and directly, without accusation. And then you watch behavior, not promises. This alone shifts the entire dynamic. Because when a man is no longer afraid of outcomes, the truth has nowhere to hide. Either she steps into integrity, or she steps away. Both outcomes are clarity. Both restore your power. If she chooses to re-engage emotionally, it will not be because you chased. It will be because she felt safety, polarity, and respect again. If she doesn't, you walk forward without resentment because you didn't abandon yourself to keep her. This is emotional leadership, not dominance, not control, leadership of self. And understand this deeply. Attraction is not maintained by effort. It is maintained by presence. Presence comes from inner stability. Inner stability comes from knowing you will be okay, no matter how the story ends. When a man reaches this place, betrayal loses its power, fear dissolves, relationships become choices, not lifelines. So if you sense these behaviors, don't panic, don't numb yourself, don't chase ghosts, ground yourself, strengthen your life, honor your intuition, speak with clarity, and be willing to walk with dignity if respect disappears. That willingness is not loss, it is strength. And paradoxically, it is the very thing that either saves the connection or saves you. Both are wins, because a man who keeps his center cannot be destroyed by uncertainty. He can only be refined by it.